Hello, everyone. My name is Riley. I'm an educator here at Hawk Mountain, and welcome to Hawk Mountain's Sanctuary Storytime. Today's program is about the story Owl Moon. So we're so happy you're here. If you're happy too, dance like your favorite animal. We here at Hawk Mountain, we love nature, we love birds, of course, we love raptors, and we love all wildlife. We love the plants and animals, the earth and the sky, because all living things are connected. Do you love nature too? So today we have an amazing story and activity planned for you guys. So first we're going to start by reading the story Owl Moon. Then I want to talk to you a little bit more about owls, and you might have a chance to meet one of our very special feathered educators. And then last but not least, we are going to walk you through how to make an owl-themed craft at home. It's super easy, just a few simple steps and materials that you can find around your house. So just a friendly reminder that this program is being recorded, so you can watch this whole program again on our YouTube channel in just a few days. And also at the very bottom of your Zoom screen, there is a Q&A option. So if at any time during the program today you have a question about owls or the story or the craft, you can type it into the Q&A below and I can answer your questions. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and we are going to get started reading the story Owl Moon. It's a story about a child who goes out with his paw to look for owls during the winter time. So let's see what they find. Okay. All right, so here's our story Owl Moon by Jane Yolen. It was late one winter night, long past my bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. There was no wind. The trees stood still as giant statues, and the moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine. Somewhere behind us, a train whistle blew, long and low, like a sad, sad song. I could hear it through the woolen cap Pa had pulled down over my ears. A farm dog answered the train, and then a second dog joined in. They sang out, trains and dogs, for a real long time. And when their voices faded away, it was as quiet as a dream. We walked on towards the woods, Pa and I. We're walking through the woods. You can see a little fox along the horizon. Our feet crunched over the crisp snow and the little gray footprints followed us. Pa made a long shadow, but mine was short and round. I had to run after him every now and then to keep up, and my short, round shadow bumped after me. But I never called out. If you go owling, you have to be quiet. That's what Pa always says. I had been waiting to go owling with Pa for a long, long time. We reached the line of pine trees, black and pointy against the sky, and Pa held up his hand. I stopped right where I was and waited. He looked up, as if searching the stars, as if reading a map up there. The moon made his face into a silver mask. Then he called, "Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo," the sound of a great horned owl. "Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo." Again, he called out, and then again. After each call, he was silent, and for a moment we both listened, but there was no answer. Pa shrugged, and I shrugged. I wasn't disappointed. My brothers all said sometimes there's an owl, and sometimes there isn't. Let's see if they'll find an owl today. You can see in the tree there's a critter hiding inside, maybe a raccoon. We walked on. I could feel the cold as if someone's icy hand was palmed down on my back. And my nose and the tops of my cheeks felt cold and hot at the same time. But I never said a word. If you go owling, you have to be quiet and make your own heat. So they're trudging through the thick snow, looking for an owl. We went into the woods. The shadows were the blackest things I'd ever seen. They stained the white snow. My mouth felt furry for the scarf over it was wet and warm. I didn't ask what kinds of things hide behind black trees in the middle of the night. When you go owling, you have to be brave. Large, towering, dark trees. Then we came to a clearing in the dark woods. The moon was high above us. It seemed to fit exactly over the center of the clearing, and the snow below it was whiter than the milk in a cereal bowl. So they're outside at night looking for this owl, but the moon is so bright, it's lighting up the snow around them. And here in the shadows, they might not know it, but looks like there's a little deer hiding behind the tree. I sighed, and Pa held up his hand at the sound. I put my mittens over the scarf, over my mouth, and I listened hard. And then Pa called, "Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, 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 hoo-hoo." I listened and looked so hard, my ears hurt, and my eyes got cloudy with the cold. Pa raised his face to call out again, but before he could open his mouth, an echo came threading its way through the trees. Woo-hoo, woo-hoo, woo-hoo. Sounds like they've discovered something. Let's see what it is. Pa almost smiled. Then he called back, "Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo," just as if he and the owl were talking about supper or about the woods or the moon or the cold. I took my mitten off the scarf, off my mouth, and I almost smiled too. The owl's call came closer from high up in the trees on the edge of the meadow. Nothing in the meadow moved. All of a sudden, an owl shadow, part of the big tree shadow, lifted off and flew right over us. We watched silently with heat in our mouths and heat of all those words we hadn't spoken. The shadow hooted again. You can see right at the top of the page on the picture, there's something flying overhead. Let's see. Pa turned on his big flashlight and caught the owl just as it was landing on a branch. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. For 1 minute, 3 minutes, maybe even 100 minutes, we stared at one another. Look at that beautiful, large, great horned owl. Then the owl pumped its great wings and lifted off the branch like a shadow without a sound. It flew back into the forest. "Time to go home," Pa said to me. I knew then I could talk. I could even laugh out loud, but I was a shadow as we walked home. So they got their chance. They saw an owl. So incredible. When you go owling, you don't need words or warm or anything but hope. That's what Pa says. The kind of hope that flies on silent wings under a shining owl moon. Okay. What'd everybody think? That was an awesome story. So thank you guys for listening to our story, Owl Moon. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about owls and maybe the owl that we saw today in our story. So the owl that you saw in our story was a great horned owl, and great horned owls actually live in Pennsylvania here at Hawk Mountain. Great horned owls are the largest owls in Pennsylvania. I have a map here. This isn't a live great horned owl. It was once alive, but great horned owls, they're very large, as you can see, and they are considered the tigers of the skies. They love to hunt for food, and they're meat eaters, they're raptors. And yeah, you can see they have huge eyes, a sharp hook-shaped beak, and also some crazy sharp talons. And I'll show you here. Here is a skull of a great horned owl. This is just a model, but you can see just how big their eyes are. So they have very intense eyesight. So my question for you is, why do owls hoo? Why do they make that sound? That hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo that the great horned owl has? I can actually play it for you. I have it here on my phone. This is the call of a real great horned owl. So that sound that the great horned owl makes is specific to the great horned owl, and they'll make that call when they're outside in the wilderness and they are trying to protect their territory where they live, or they might even make that call to maybe their mate that they're calling to, so they can make baby owls. So there's different reasons that these birds will make these sounds. Another owl that lives in Pennsylvania, just to show you the range of how big or small they can be, the smallest owl you can find in Pennsylvania is this little guy, who is a northern saw-whet owl. You can see he has little tiny talons, but they're still very sharp. And just compared to the great horned owl, oh my goodness. And the craziest thing is that a great horned owl would probably eat one of these guys, the northern saw-whet owl. So one more thing I wanted to show you with the owls is I have here a great horned owl wing. And in the story, the great horned owl flew over the child and their paw as they were out owling, and they said that the owl flew silently. So how can an owl, this large great horned owl, how can it fly silently? And there's actually something that has to do with their feathers. If you look, this is their wing, and they have some very soft feathers. It might be hard to see, but right at the top, there's this special ridge on their wing, and it's called a serrated edge. So kind of like a serrated knife that you would use to maybe cut a piece of meat has like a jagged edge where air can pass through, and that way when they flap their wings, it's almost completely silent. And that helps them to hunt for food in the wintertime because when they're outside at night, they can sneak up on their prey without them even seeing them. So it's pretty incredible if you ask me. So now that we talked a little bit more about owls, and if you have any questions about owls, please feel free to type it below in the chat or the Q&A section. I'm going to have you guys meet one of our very special feathered educators. So hold on one second, I'm going to get him out and I will be right back. Okay, so here we have, I'll try and get him to turn around. I know the picture behind is very interesting, but here we have an eastern screech owl. So here is a screech owl. They actually live here in Pennsylvania. We have 8 types of owls that live here near Hawk Mountain Sanctuary. The northern saw-whet owl you saw before is the smallest, but the screech owl is the second smallest. This is the largest they get in adulthood. Sometimes the males and females are different sizes. The females tend to be a little bit bigger, but this is the largest they get at their adult age. So you can see he's looking around, just getting a little comfortable. But here we have this little guy, and the reason he's called a screech owl is because of the call that they make. It's kind of like a really high-pitched screeching sound. When I put him away in just a minute, I can play that for you so you can get an idea of what they sound like and why they have that name. An interesting thing that the screech owl has, which also great horned owls have, are these little ear tufts above their eyes. You can kind of see it, but it almost looks like big pointy ears on top of their head, but it's not actually their ears. It's just feathers, but it helps to pull sound in towards their ears so they have really good hearing. They also will stick them up when they're trying to blend into a tree, into their surroundings. Um, they're really good at camouflage. Imagine this little guy being held up against the bark of a tree. They do a really great job of hiding in the woods. And if you ask people, have you ever seen an owl before? Most people will go their whole lives without seeing an animal or seeing an owl in the wild. And the reason for that is one, they're amazing at camouflage, but also they are active at night. They're nocturnal. So these guys, you might not see your entire life in the wild, but you might hear them. So if you live near the woods near your house, maybe keep your eyes peeled or your ears peeled late at night to hear maybe an owl calling. It's pretty cool to check out. Showing off his wings a little bit. And this guy, this screech owl here, we got here in October, I believe. And we got him from a rehab center who actually, someone brought in this owl who had an injury. They believe that it was from a vehicle strike from being hit by a car. So he can't fly at 100%. He has an injured wing. So that's why we have him here at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary. He is now an ambassador for education, but he lives here and we take care of him every day. We feed him every day, and he has an outdoor enclosure that he hangs out in and will live a nice, comfortable life and be able to meet you guys for these programs virtually and hopefully in person soon. So I'm going to put him away. He did an awesome job. I'll give you one last good look. You can see those large eyes. Also, for owls, their eyes are so large in their head that they're actually fixed. Humans, we can keep our heads still and look around with just our eyes, but owls, they don't have the muscles in their eyes to do that. So if they want to look around, they have to look with their entire head and turn their head. And a lot of people think that an owl can turn their head 360 degrees around, but that's actually a myth. If they could turn their head all the way around, their head would just fall right off. They can actually turn their head though about 3/4. And the reason for that is if you feel in the back of your neck, humans have we have 7 bones in our neck, but owls have double that. So it makes it really easy to turn their head nice and smooth. He's showing it off for you a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put him back. And then right after this, I'm going to walk you through our owl themed craft, and then we will be done for the day. Thank you very much, Screech Owl. You did a great job. Did you hear that little screech? Awesome. Okay. So now that I put him away, I can play for you that sound close up here. This is the call of a screech owl. So they have a really interesting call, a little different from the classic like hoot hoot sound that you would hear from a great horned owl, but that's why they have that name. So before I walk you guys through the craft really quick, I wanted to answer this one question in our Q&A. Someone asked, are there any owls that are not nocturnal? That's a great question. Actually, all owls are nocturnal. Sometimes they are active during the day, like the screech owl, it's daytime right now, and he's awake, but out in the wild, they are suited to hunt at night. They have huge eyes to bring in lots of moonlight so they can see well. And they have feathers on their feet to keep them warm at night. So they are nighttime hunters, definitely. but you can see some during the day, active sometimes. Okay, so for our craft, I wanted to walk you through how to make an owl with your very own pine cone. So all you need for this activity, it's super easy. Head outside and look for a pine cone near your house. And we know that pine cones come from pine trees. So maybe you have some evergreen trees near your house. And then you can either use felt or paper, whatever you have lying around. And any color. I use like browns and oranges, but you could even use greens or blues or oranges or purples. Totally up to you. And I made a piece for the wing, a beak, the eyes, and some ear tufts. And then I grabbed a pipe cleaner, just one long pipe cleaner, and I cut it into a few different pieces and then just glued it on the bottom to make our sharp talons. And you can kind of perfectly hang it on your finger if you want. So all you need is some scissors and some glue to put this all together. I actually linked a video that walks you through how to make this step by step in the email with the Zoom link. So you can go and check that out after this program if you would like to make your own owl pine cone at home. So I think that's everything we have for today. I wanted to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I had tons of fun. If you have any questions, you can ask me now before you go. But I just wanted to let you know that our next sanctuary story time for the month of February is going to be on February 25th. It is also a Thursday at 11 a.m. And we are going to be reading the story The Mitten and learning about some animals in wintertime. You can register for all of our programs at hawkmountain.ticketleap.com. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and I hope you had a great time, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody. Thank you.